Alright, so today I'm going to go over an example that will hopefully help all of you guys with the project to, in quotes here, to automate some of the scripting or the basically plot generation that we have. So right now it's October 27th, and for the project the last date that I want you to go up to is at least November 6th. So all of your figures that you have, it should go up to at least November 6th. Here I didn't specify the date that I have for these figures. I really should have. But I was asked a pretty good question, which was how to handle updating your figures for each new day of cases. So let's say right here, this is our bar chart for the top 5 countries with the most amount of COVID-19 cases. So let's say that once we get to November 6th, Argentina dropped down to the 6th highest amount of COVID-19 cases, and some other country took its spot. So how I imagine a lot of you are currently writing your code is you're actually writing out all of these country names yourself manually in your script. So you might be doing that to find all of their respective indices. So that's a logical kind of thing to do, but it's not an efficient way to go about it. So let's pretend that we went to November 6th and Argentina was no longer top 5, it was top 6. Now it would be very tedious and time consuming to then have to change a lot of our code to, instead of specify the name for Argentina, to find all of its indices for its testing data for cases and deaths. Instead of doing that, we would rather have MATLAB do that for us. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How to go about doing this. I'm not going to do it for our project data because I would just be giving you the answer, and I'm not going to do that. I want you to think about how to do it. But basically what we're going to achieve in the end, or our goal, is to have MATLAB look at, and let's say for this example here, look at all of the cumulative COVID-19 cases for all of the countries. It will automatically look at the most recent testing date. Then we will sort the data that we have, so it goes from the highest amount of cases to the lowest. Then MATLAB will, we're going to write code for MATLAB to only get the top 5 values here for the most amount of cases. And then again, it's going to automatically, by code we write, it's going to gather all of these names here. So we don't actually have to specify those names manually. Okay, so we're going to go over that. And if you do this correctly, all of your figures that you have here, they're going to be generated automatically. So once you update your spreadsheet for the most recent data, all you have to do is run your script again, and that's it. You don't need to adjust the script at all. Okay, so we're going to go over that today, and of course, as I said, we're not going to be doing it for our project. I'm going to use some other data that I have here, and we're going to go over it that way. So, of course, since I like baseball, we're going to be using data for baseball. More specifically, we're going to be using data from the 2020 postseason. So that just ended now, a few hours ago. Dodgers won the World Series. I mean, yeah, good for them, but I wanted the Rays to win, so I'm a little bummed. Okay, so what I have here, I'm actually going to do the video in here, just because I prefer it, but where I'm at here, I'm actually in MATLAB right now. I'm using MATLAB inside of a text editor that I have, but rest assured I am using MATLAB right now. Okay, so we're going to be doing some stuff again for postseason data. So we're going to start off our script by clearing everything, and then I'm going to run our script right now. And you see over there on the right, that's actually my workspace now on the bottom. Or, sorry, not my workspace, my command window. So I'm going to open up the workspace here. And right now, it's empty. But this is how I'm going to do this video. Okay, so I already, worked on the script myself. I have it on my laptop here, so I'm going to be taking a look at it throughout the video so I can see what I have. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, let me look at the plot we're making here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make a plot for all of the players that were in the postseason that had the most amount of singles. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, as always, is we're going to import our data. I'm going to move this over a bit. Okay, so I'm going to make a comment here, import data. And then I'm going to call this post equals read table. Post just meaning postseason. You can put any variable that you want, of course. Read table, and then I'm going to put post underscore 2020.csv. Okay, and then I'm going to suppress that. And then I can run this. And now it's going to show up right here in my workspace. I can double click on that. And here it is here. This is all of the data that we have for the postseason. It's quite a lot of data. We have basically 2,200 rows and 89 columns. So there's a ton of data here. Man, this is great. Nah, man, there's so much. Alright, so it goes over every single pitch, basically, for the postseason. I mean, fantastic. So look at this guy. This pitch was at 101 miles per hour, and the person that was batting was Manuel Margot on the Padres. Do they show the team that he's on here too? I don't see it, but he's on the Padres. So I wonder who was pitching then. Pretty fast. Alright, so yeah, this is all of our data, so we're going to be using some of this, but I also have another spreadsheet that I'm going to import here, which I'm going to call post underscore R, which means post-season results. And I'll do read table, post underscore 2020 underscore results.csv, and then I'm going to terminate that. And then if I look at that table, this contains one row per each player that was in that postseason, and it gives all of their kind of big results. Now there's quite a lot here too, but you know, I don't have data for each pitch that was thrown here. I have all of the results for each player instead. So here I can see all of the hits. So I think actually I misspoke. Okay, no, it looks like we are doing it for singles first. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be doing 3 plots, I believe. So I worked on this last night, so I'm a little rusty on what I did. But we're going to be making 3 plots. The first plot we're making is the most amount of singles in the 2020 postseason, and then the other plot is going to be the most amount of hits, period, in the postseason. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do now is sort our table by the most amount of hits for the postseason. So for this, I can just look at our spreadsheet right here, which is called post underscore R. And that's going to be our postseason results, and I see that one of our columns here is called hits. Okay, so I'm going to call this variable. Or first, let's do most hits dash top 5 players. Okay, so I'm going to do post underscore R underscore hits, and this will be equal to, so now we're actually going to sort our table here, so sort rows, and then we're going to specify the table that we have, so post underscore R, and then I want to sort it by hits, and I'm going to put descend, because I want this to go from the most amount of hits to the least amount of hits. So if I look at our table here, this is now going to update. And it didn't update, that's right, because I made a new variable. Okay, I was confused for a second. So here we go, so I essentially made a whole new table just so I can save the kind of default sorting that this had here. So if I go over here to hits, there we are. We see this player here, he had the most amount of hits, 27. Now this data is from last night, so technically I was 1 game short of the entire postseason. Who was it? Was it Randy? Yep, it was Randy Rosarena. Dude went on a tear. I'm going to be going over some of his data for this example as well. Okay, so there we go. So we sorted our whole table here by hits. So now we want to get, basically we want to gather our data for the top 5 players that had the most amount of hits. Okay, so these are the graphs that we're going to make. There are 2 of the 3 that we're going to make. So first here on the right, we have the players with the most amount of hits in the 2020 MLB postseason. And we have it broken down by the type of hit that they had. So in this case, I excluded triples only because only Randy Arozarena had a triple. No one else did, so it kind of made the graph look a little bleh. But I could include that if I wanted to. Okay, so that's one of them. Then we have this graph here. This title is a little misleading. This should say something like the most amount of singles for the top 5 players for the most amount of hits in the MLB postseason. So you can think about it like this way, there might have been some other player that had more hits even than Randy Arozarena, but he didn't have a higher total amount of hits. Anyways, those are the graphs that we're going to make. So let's go through that right now. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is find the indices when our top 5 players sorted by their total amount of hits in the postseason when they have an event at the plate. So if I go to our spreadsheets here, and I go to our first table that shows all of the, not just the results, but every plate appearance, we see that column 9 has a title or a variable name called events. So here this shows the event or the result of every plate appearance. Okay, so what we need to do is find all of the indices for our top 5 players here. For top 5 players who have the most hits in the postseason, we have to find all of their respective indices for when they had some event. And that way we can then later sort it so we can see when they had a single, when they had a double, a triple, or a home run. So what I'm first going to do is make a variable called mhits_1_ind. And this is going to stand for the most amount of hits for player 1, and we're going to specify their indices, so ind. Now what I'm going to do is find string compare post.player_name, and then post_r_hits.player_name, and then 1. Okay, so what is this line of code doing? So we're going to use find. That's going to give us our indices. And it's giving us the indices for when we're using this function string compare. When these 2 strings basically match up. So here I have post.player_name. So this is for this table that's called post. And it's going to look at column 6 here for player name. We're going to see when that matches up with our other table called post_r_hits, where we have this table right now sorted by the highest amount of total hits in the postseason. So we are doing post_r_hits.player_name, so column 3, and then I specified a 1 in parentheses there, so I can get whoever is in this top row. Now you'll notice I didn't specify the name. I only specified the index for this first row for this table. So this is the player that had the most amount of hits in the postseason. Okay, so this way I'm not saying any names at all, but this is configured so I can find whoever's the top player that had the most amount of hits in the postseason. I can find their respective indices in this table right here to see all of their plate appearances. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to do it for our other 4 players. Okay, so what I'll do is do 0, 1, or 0, 2 rather. Actually, okay, I'll just do it this way. 2, 3, 4, 5. So here I'm saying player 2, player 3, player 4, player 5. Then I gotta go over here. And then I'll change all of these as well. Just like that. And then I can run it and we see that it runs okay. So now I'm just finding the indices for all of our other top 5 players. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm using similar logic where I'm specifying the second row and our table that we made for what that was sorted by hits. And then the third, fourth, and fifth. And all of those are being compared to the player name for this table right here. Okay, so if I run this right now, which I already did, let's take a look at our first entry up here. So this is our first player that had the most amount of hits. So we can click on that, and I'm going to drag this out. And now what I'm going to do is we're just going to double check that this code is actually working. So our player with the most amount of hits, let's just, we know what that is or who that was. That was Randy Arozarena. So here, these are all of the indices in our other table called post where he had some event. So let's make sure that our code ran correctly. So the first one says row 20. So let's go over here and we'll look at row 20. Oh, look at that. It's Randy Arozarena. And what was the event? He had a single. Alright, we'll do, 2 more. Let's go to row 41. Here's row 41. It's Randy Arozarena once again. And he got a walk. Now, later on, we're actually going to ignore this. We're not going to look at if he had a walk or not. We're only going to look at his hits, but this is giving us every single plate appearance that he had in the postseason. Okay, and then we have row 63. Row 63, that's Randy Arozarena once again. And he got a single. Alright, so our code, it works. Okay, so what we're actually going to do now is go over something that I forgot to do. So we're going to convert our cell arrays into a string array. So this is similar to what we did back in our example in class where we had temperature data and we were looking at the temperature for the weekend. So we're going to convert it from a cell to a string. So we can use some relational operators later on that we can't do if we had a cell. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is post.events, and we're basically going to update this to a string. So I'm going to type in string, that's our function. I'm going to put post.events. Before I run this code, I'm going to go down to my command window, and if I go to the table post and I look at the column 9 for events, if I type in class and then post.events, that shows that it's a cell. So I'm going to change this from a cell to a string. So if I run our script and now I type in that same command, now it's a string, and you also saw that this updated here where we have double quotes here. Okay, so we're going to do that for 2 more things. So post.playerName, and then we're going to convert this to a string. Player name. And then we're also going to do this for post_r dot player name, and then post_r. So I'm not doing post_r dot player name. Sorry, post._r dot hits. I'm not doing that here because we haven't created that table yet at this point in the code. We created that down here. So if I do post_r_hits dot player name, I should have done class. Then we see it's a string. It's a string because we made this table in this line right here. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Now let's start making a table for each player's type of hit. So I forget if I mentioned this or not, but this is basically going to make a table for all of the events for each player. So that's going to include more than just hits. It's also going to include stuff like walks and strikeouts, but we're going to deal with that later on. Yes, I'm going to do player_1. This stands for player 1. and then post.events and hits _1 ind. Yeah, my setup is not exactly ideal because I'm referencing the code that I wrote. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're using array addressing for our table post, and then we're going to look at our column for events, column 9, events, and then we're going to get all of the corresponding indices that we found right here for player 1. Let me make this a bit larger. Okay. So if I go to the table that we just created, which is player _1, we see that this actually isn't a table quite yet. It's just a string array right now. But we have a string for each event that he had, so we see that single walk, single home run. Ooh, tough night right there if that was just one game. Alright, so let's just confirm once again that this is actually working correctly. Okay, so this is for a first player, so we noticed from looking that it was Randy Arozarena. So what I'm going to do is look for all of his plate appearances. So we see Randy Arozarena. Let's see what the event was. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. Okay, right here. Randy Arozarena, player name. Maybe I shouldn't do this, it might take a while to see. Okay, I'm not gonna look, just for sake of time, but trust me that this is correct. Maybe we could do something really quick. Because we know his indices. That was here. So row 20. Okay, let's do that. Row 20. Not looking at the correct one. Row 20, there we go. So Randy Arozarena. What did he have there? He had a single, which matches up here. Let's look at 6. So if I go here, that corresponds to row 93. So row 93, that was a home run, so that looks good so far. Let's make sure that it was Randy. And it was. Okay, so our code is good. So now we're gonna copy and paste this, and we're gonna fill in for the other 4 players. Okay, so now we're going to actually find the amount of singles, doubles, triples, and home runs per player, because we're only gonna look at the hits. I changed this to reflect that we made a string array. But right here, we're actually going to make this into a table this time. Okay, so first I'm going to do it for player 1. So I have player 1 totals. That means all of his totals for his hits, doubles, triples, and home runs. So I'm going to type in array to table. That's a function to have our array converted to a table. And then I'm going to put in a left bracket here. I'll explain why in a second. And then I'm going to type in length. Find, and then player _1 equals single. So if I run this right now, okay, it ran fine. What this is doing, so we have array to table, that's going to make a table. And here, let's first start here. So find player 1 equals single. This is going to look at our table, or our string array for player 1, and it's going to find the indices when a value in here is equal to the string called single. So we see one here. So row 1, row 3, row 9, and then yeah, well, I don't need to go through all of them, but we see some more down here as well. Okay, and then we have length. So what that is doing, it's going to find the length of those indices that it just found. So essentially it's giving us the amount of singles and amount of, well in this case, yeah, the amount of singles that Randy Arozarena has. So now if I go to our table that we just made, player _1 totals, this shows us that he had 14 singles in the postseason. Of course, I'm one game short. Okay, so let's do this now, but we're also going to include this for doubles, triples, and home runs. Okay, so this part is going to get a little kind of long and nasty looking, but bear with me. Okay, I'm going to make this full screen, and it's still not going to fit, but it's okay. So here I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to again type in length, and find player underscore 1 equals double, and then length, find player underscore 1 equals triple, and then we have length of length find player underscore 1 equals home run. There we go. Okay, our code runs correctly. Now if I go to player underscore 1 totals, now I have singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. So great. So I had to include those brackets there because I had multiple arguments for converting our array to a table. I first found it for singles, then I found it for doubles, triples, and then home runs. Okay, so let's copy and paste this, and we're going to do it for the other 4 players. So I'm going to make this full screen again just because it's easier for me to look at. And actually, just for a second here, I'm going to make my text smaller. Don't worry, I'm going to change it back. Okay, and this is kind of the benefit of why I'm using this text editor, so I don't need to kind of move my mouse around and change each individual part. But all I have to do is change the second row to 01 to 02, and the same kind of thing for the other rows. So let's do that right now. Okay. Alright, there I go. Or there we go, I'm done there. So now I can run it. It just ran. I'll make my text larger again. That should be good. And now you see that I have all the other tables. So let's look at player 2. We have all of his values, so 10 singles, 4 doubles, no triples, 8 home runs, and I mean, we have for all of our players there. Alright, that's good. So now let's change our property variable names for the tables here so we actually can reference them a little easier. So we have a section, change variable names. So player underscore 1 dot properties, underscore 1 underscore totals, and then dot properties dot variable names, the capitalization matters, equals, and then we have to use curly braces here, and then we're going to go column by column. So singles, doubles, triples, and then home runs. Is that one word? I don't know. Okay, and then I'm going to suppress it. Let's run it. And then, oh, look at that. Now this changed and it looks nice. Okay, cool. So let's again do this for the 4 other players. So do that. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Let's run it. And we'll just confirm with another table that that's updated, and it is, so good. Okay, let's see what we have to do now. So what we're going to do right now is make a combined table from all of those tables that we just made, so we get something that looks like this. We're also going to add in the player names and a new column to the left here, so we have the player name for each respective row. Now, I actually didn't need to type out all of this right here. I can just type it out one time down here. So let's delete some of this stuff. And we'll actually delete this here. Yeah, we'll delete this here. I'm going to put it down here. And I'll uncomment that in a second. Okay, so we're going to make our combined table. I'm going to call this player underscore T5 totals. And now we're going to plug in all of the tables that we just made. So I'm going to use brackets. Player underscore 1 underscore totals. Then I'm going to use a semicolon because I want to have all of these player underscore blank totals on different rows, kind of like you see over here. Okay, so we got to copy and paste this. There's 3, there's 4, there's 5. And then we got to rename the numbers. So if I run this right now, then we get our table and it shows up like this. So now I want to change these property variable names. I'll actually do that in a second. The first thing I want to do is add in our player name. So I'm going to do player underscore T5 totals. So I'm going to update this table. Equals the table that we just made. So player underscore T5 underscore totals. And then I'm going to plug in the player names that we want to have. So I'm going to go back to our table that's called post underscore R underscore hits. And I want to take these top 5 names. Now I'm not going to actually specify them directly, but I'm going to do table because I want to make it a table, and then post underscore R underscore hits dot player name, and then the values from 1 to 5 because I want to get those first 5 players. Now if I run this, okay, so what I have to do. Okay, so I figured out our issue here. So I have this line right here that changes our variable names. That was called 0, 1. I have to update this to T5 because that's the table that we're going to modify now. However, if I try to put in our player here, our player names, just like this, we're going to get the error that we just saw. Because as it currently stands, let's comment that out. As it currently stands, our table has var1, var2, var3, var4, and we're trying to import player names, and that's going to, by default, assign that variable name to this table with a name of var1. So it sees that it's a duplicate variable name, so it throws a fit. So what we have to do is first change our variable names before we import our player name. So let's do that. Now you could have already done this earlier on. Actually, yeah, why don't we do that? We can actually just specify our player names or import our players on this line right here. So to do that, I'm going to do post underscore R underscore hits dot player name, and I want 1 to 5. So what I'm doing here is I'm accessing this table and I'm getting the first 5 values that we have here. And you'll see that I'm not, of course, specifying the name. I'm just putting in the values that we have. So 1 to 5. See, I have a semicolon. That needs to be a colon. Okay, all of them need to be tables. I have to do table, just like this. And that should be a semicolon. Same number of variables. Okay, it doesn't like that, and I'm not going to keep messing around with this, so let's just run that as we had it. There we go, and then we first have to specify our property names. Oh boy, and I deleted that. Oh, great. So I'll do player underscore T5 totals dot properties dot variable names equals, and then so we first have singles, doubles, then triples, and then home runs. Okay, so that's going to update our table to the left there. Cool. And now we're going to add in our player names. And I already have that line right there, so I'll just run it. And there we go, that added. But now we have to change our variable name for the first column. So I'm gonna rename var1 to player names. And there we go. Finally we got it, so we're good with that. Okay, so now we're actually going to work on our plots here, so I'm going to keep going. So let's make a section. And the first thing we're going to do is plot the most amount of singles. So I'll do player underscore T5 underscore totals. And then I want to access the singles right here. So first off, I'm going to sort this from highest to lowest. So I'm going to do sort rows. And then we're going to specify our table. So in this line right here, I'm basically updating this table to sort by the highest amount of singles. Okay, and then I got to specify the column that we have. That's called singles. And then descend, because we want to do highest to lowest. Now if I run this, our table is going to update. There it is. Good, and now we can actually make the plot. So I'm going to do var player T5 totals dot singles. Now I can run that, and then here we go. Here's our plot. Let's keep that down there. Okay, there we go. So now I gotta change some stuff. I'm gonna add in the X tick labels, and I'm gonna change our Y limits a bit as well. So first thing we'll do, we'll change the Y limits. We're going to do Y lim, and then we're going to go from 0 to 16, just so we have some space up top. Run it, there we go. And then I'm going to change my Y ticks. Actually, it's good how it is right now. So I don't need to change that. Okay. So we'll do, I'm just looking at my code, but that looks good so far. Okay, I'm gonna do AX equals GC. That means AX standing for axis equals get current axis, and now we're gonna change, or we're gonna specify to have a grid. So I'm gonna do AX dot Y grid equals on, not on, on. There we go. And now you see in faint lines I have a grid. Just a Y grid. Okay, now we're going to add in our X tick label. So I'm actually not going to type out any of the names. I can reference what we have just by accessing our table right here and putting our player names. So I'm going to do X tick labels. Then we do player T5 underscore totals dot player names. Run it, and there we go. It shows up, looks great. So here, yeah, okay, see, this might be, it depends on how you export your figure for what kind of dimensions, but here, you see if it's in this kind of square format, then our names, they overlap, so we'll change that. Okay, so I'm going to do X tick angle, and I'm going to make that 30. There we go, and then this looks quite nice. I don't think there's anything else, let me check. And it would just be making a title, so you guys know how to do that on your own, so I'm going to skip that part. Okay, so that's graph 1. I'll add it in. Okay, what I'm going to do right now, I hope I remember, I'm going to put in these brackets here. And this will help me use 2 lines for MLB 2020 post-season. And I didn't remember correctly. Okay, I don't remember off the top of my head, and I'm not going to spend time trying to remember. Did I do it? Maybe I did it like this. No, okay, I don't remember at the top of my head, but you can change your title to span 2 different lines. But I forget how. Yeah, oh well. Okay, next one is to plot the, make a bar chart for all of the different types of hits for these top 5 players. So let's do that. Okay, so let's work on figure 2 now. So I'm going to do bar, and this time I'm going to do table to array. That's going to convert our table to array, because MATLAB kind of throws a bit of a fit for plotting this as just a table. So I'm going to do table to array, and then player underscore t5 underscore totals. Then I'm going to use array addressing, so I'm going to do from 1 to the height of our table. So we're doing a height so we can access all of the columns. So height of player t5 totals. Okay. And then comma, and this time we're going to do 2 to the width of player t5 total. So why am I doing 2? I don't want to include the player names here. I just want to access all of this data and the home runs. So we're going to do 2 to 5 basically. Now if I run this, then there we go. Here is our table, or not our table, our graph. It looks good, but we got to add some stuff in. You see only one player has a triple, so I'm actually going to take that part out. So instead of width of player t5 totals, I'm going to change this. I'm actually going to specify some stuff myself. So I'm going to do from 2. Okay. Yeah, okay. I don't blame the time, I can't think as well. So 2, 3, 5. So this time I'm going to access column 2 and column 3 and then column 5. So I'm going to skip column 4, which has our triples. I'm going to have the plot go right there. There we go. And now let's change some stuff. So I'll change the YLM to 0 to 16 once again. And then xtick labels. We're going to do just like we did above. So player t5 totals dot player name dot player names. There we go, our players show up. Xtick angle of 30. Okay, and then here we go. This is the good part here. Alright, so our xtick labels, that definitely helps us out. But I'm going to add in a legend here as well that references what kind of hits each of these are. And I'm not going to actually specify it myself. I'm going to have it access our variable names right here. Okay, so we're going to do player t5 totals dot properties dot variable names, and then we're going to do 2, 3, 5, because that's what we have. That's our singles, our doubles, and our home runs. We'll run it. Boom, there we go. That shows up just like we wanted it to. And then the last thing is just adding in a title. Players with the most hits in the 2020 MLB postseason. Alright, there we go. So that's our second plot. We have one more plot to go, and that'll be just for our top player, Randy Arozarena specifically. Okay, so the last graph that we're going to make today is this one right here. It doesn't look all that impressive. Maybe there's a better way to format it, but this is what we're going to do. So here we're going to look at our top player, Randy Arozarena, and we're going to make a plot for all of the hits that he got for each game, and we're actually specifying or indicating the type of hit that he got. So in his first game, he had a triple. That's TPG. I can maybe change the the formatting there to be something a bit more helpful. Second game, he got a single. He had one single and then 2 doubles. Nice. Third game, he got a home run. And he got 2 singles. So you see that's kind of how we go. And here, this part isn't totally great because we have 2 things here. We have 1 home run and 1 single. They're kind of overlaid. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. And you see my title shows his name. I didn't type his name. His name went there. So I'll show you how to do that. And I decided to pull up my actual script over here because, you know, not like that really matters. You're here to understand how to do it. So I'm going to keep that right there. Alright, so let's do, well, I gotta go down here to actually where I want to go. There we go. So we'll do, make a table for game dates. And events for each player. Okay, so what this will do is, well, we're going to make a table for all of the game dates and events for each player. So if I go over, let's close one of these. So if I go to post, you'll see that that our game dates, we have overlaps, right? We see 1025, 1025. And that's because, remember, it's by each plate appearance. So, for one player, like our top player, Randy Arozarena, for one game, we're going to have multiple values of that game date. So what I'm going to do now is make a table for those game dates and the corresponding event. And later we're going to find the length to give us the amount of singles, doubles, triples, and hits per game. So that part can be a little complex, at least for, you know, this class level. That's just because, you know, it's an intro. And then we're going to finish it off by having our title be specified for Randy Arozarena without us actually typing his name. Okay, so let's start out here. We're going to do player underscore 1 underscore dates to get all of the game dates for him. And we're going to do table. So I'm going to make a table and then post.game underscore, post.game date. Okay, so we're accessing this column right here. And then we're going to access the indices for our top player. So m hits, this was from before, m hits underscore 1 underscore indices. We'll suppress that, run it. Let me comment out our figure up here. So now if I go over here and I go to player underscore 1 dates, I'm going to open that up. And here we go, we have all of the dates that correspond to Randy Arozarena. Let's check it. Let's double check. Let's pull it out. And let's actually make this go over here. So we're going to go to... yeah, actually this might be a little too long to compare it, but let's see, we'll go to line 20, I guess, because I know he was there. So line 20, here's Randy Arozarena, and our game date is 10/25. So you'll see right here, this is currently this table is in descending order. Okay, but they all match up. You can check on your own if you want. So we have player underscore 1 dates. We'll do player underscore 01 events, because now I want to get all of the corresponding events for player number 1. Of course, we know it's Randy Arozarena. We're going to make another table here. You know, actually what we could do is player underscore 01 underscore all. And then we're going to put in player underscore 1 dates. We could have done all of this on one line, I suppose. Why don't we do that, actually? So, I'm going to do table. And then post dot game underscore date m hits underscore 1 underscore indices. And then table player underscore 1. So that was something that we created earlier. which showed all of the events that correspond to player number 1. Okay, let's hope this actually runs correctly. Looks like it did. So player underscore 1 all. Let's open that up. Here we go. And didn't work how I wanted it to. Did I make player underscore 1 a table already? Oh, that's a string. Okay, we'll do it how I did it in my example. What if I do this? Okay, that works like that. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it like this. I guess I didn't have to specify this last part to be table. Alright, there we go. So now we have each corresponding date and each corresponding event for Randy Rosarena. On this last date here, he only had a single. I'm trying to think why it only shows one single. Because he surely had more plate appearances. Maybe this shows up as an at-bat, not a plate appearance. I'm not sure. Or maybe the data just wasn't up to date. I don't know. Kind of an interesting little thing though. Because he should have multiple plate appearances per game. But again, maybe this shows up as an at-bat. Maybe he got, like, I don't know, hit by pitch and had a sac fly. I don't know. Okay, so there we go. So we have all of our stuff here. And you can see that we have multiple rows where we have one date. Because again, this is by, yeah, it should be by plate appearance because we see a walk. It's kind of an interesting anomaly here. I doubt he only went to the plate one time on the 25th. Anyways, we have all of that. And now we're going to rename our variable names for this table. So we're going to do player underscore 1 underscore all dot properties dot variable names equals. And then we're going to do game date. And then what did I call it? Event. Run it, then it updates. Cool. Now we're going to sort this by ascending date because I want to start out at his first game for the postseason. So player underscore 01 underscore all. So we're updating the table. Sort rows. Player underscore 1 underscore all. And then we're going to do game date. And then this, or sorry, I actually don't even need to put ascend because by default it sorts it by ascending. If I run it, you're going to see over here and this will change. And it does. There we go. So his very first at-bat he struck out, and his next one he got a triple. Nice. And that was his only triple of the postseason. I mean, you don't get triples too often though. Okay, let's make a section here. We're going to do find singles per game. And you'll see that I have find unique game dates, right? So remember, a lot of these rows, they're kind of duplicates for the date because he has multiple at-bats per game. I only want to have just, by date. So I can then say on a per game, so just one date basis, how many singles did he have, how many doubles did he have, etc. So we're going to need to use a function called unique to only get the unique dates where he played in a game for the postseason. So I'm going to do player underscore 1 underscore unique dates equals to our function unique and player underscore 1 underscore all dot game date. Okay, so this is accessing this table right here, player underscore 1 underscore all. And now it's going to run this function called unique and only give us the individual dates for when he played. Okay, and then let's look at that. So here it is, and we see that he played on a total of 19 days. So we have all of those game dates, right? Good. Next thing is we want to find the singles, doubles, triples, and home runs per unique game date. Okay, that's the key right there, per unique game date. So that's what we just made this variable right here. Okay, so, oh yeah, so this part here, don't worry about this. I'm using a for loop. We're not quite there yet in the class, so don't stress on this part here. This is something that I just had to do for this part of code for myself. But maybe this will be kind of a little intro for those of you that are watching. So I'm doing for I equals 1 to the length of player 01 unique dates. So this is going to give us an output that has 19 values, because this table that we're referencing has a length of 19. Then I'm going to do player underscore 1, SPG standing for singles per game, of I, so we have to iterate on I because we want to have 19 values, equals to the length of find player underscore 1 underscore all. Let's go back over here. That's our table dot game date. So it's going to look and see, it's going to give us our game date here. So it's going to look for when we have, for each kind of row here. And we're going to say when that is equal to player underscore 1 underscore unique dates of I. So it's looking over here and it's going to tell us when that was equal to the unique date. So one of the unique dates was September 29th. And we see our first two rows here, they're for September 29th. Okay, and then we're also going to use our logical operator and player. Okay, I was looking at this a little wrong. So and player underscore 1 underscore all dot event equals a single. Okay, so we're saying find when there is some dates here that, let's pretend we're looking at the first date. So the first date that we have is September 29th. So this is saying find when we have values or rows in here that are equal to our first date. So we see that we have two rows equal to the first date of September 29th. And then if one of our events is a single, then log that for us and find the length. So let's, in this case, he had 0 singles on this game. So this is going to give us a 0. He had 0 singles per game for this date. If both of these were a single, then we would have a length of 2, and that means that he had 2 singles for this first game. Okay, so there we go. This is for singles. And now what I have to do is copy and paste and then change this for from singles per game to doubles, triples, and home runs. So I'll make this full screen. Let's tuck this a little more over there, just so I can see this a bit better. Okay, and all I have to do here is change, just change this actually from singles per game, and then we're gonna call this doubles per game, then triples per game, and then home runs per game. Am I forgetting any? Yeah, no, that's good. Drag this back down. Make sure I did it all correctly. Oh, yeah. I gotta also change the last part. So here I have single, and you change that to double, and then triple, and then home run. Okay. There we go. Now I can run code, and that ran correctly. So now we can look at player underscore 1. We'll look at singles per game. So like we just saw, he didn't have any singles per game on the first date. Let's see on his second game. Look at that, he had 1 single in the second game. Is that correct? Yep. What about his third game? That's October 10th. He had 2 singles. 2 singles then. Look, that's correct. Alright, our code works. Okay, so we're kind of doing a little sanity check then. Alright, now we gotta make our tables. So I'm gonna take everything that we just computed up here and put it into one table. So make player underscore 01 EPG. EPG stands for events per game. So we're gonna make that a table, and we're gonna add in a column vector for our dates. So we have player underscore 1 EPG. Make it a table. Player underscore 1 underscore SPG. And then I'm going to put an apostrophe, the apostrophe that transposes our vector to make it, instead of a row vector, make it a column vector. Okay, and now let's add a comma here, and I'm going to copy and paste. That's 3, and then we have 4, right? We have 4 of them. So SPG, doubles per game, triples per game, home runs per game. Now if I run this, let's take a look at the table that we just created. Here we go, this is a 19x4 table so far. We have singles, doubles, triples, home runs. Okay, and let's see, and then we're going to add in the unique game dates, right? We're going to put that in the beginning. Yeah, okay. I was looking at my formatting. So to add in another column in my table, I can use dot notation. So this will put it at the end, actually. So player underscore 1 underscore EPG. And then we're going to put dot game date. That's also going to make it our column variable name. Equals player underscore 01. And then unique dates, this table or this vector that we made over here. And then you see that that was added right there. Cool. Now I gotta change the other variable names. Just so we can reference them as a single, double, triple, home run. Alright, so we had SPG, doubles per game, triples per game, and then home runs per game. Let's see if this works just like that. Nope, it doesn't, because I need to do one more in here. I need to do dot properties. Okay, yeah, so even though this last one already has a variable name, MATLAB is telling me that I have to specify it for all of them still. So I'll do game date. And now that worked, I need to suppress this though. Cool, now all of them are there. Yeah, I'll just leave it like this for now. Okay, so now I'm gonna find our indices when we had 0 singles per game. Because as it is right now, so we have zeros in a lot of these places. If I go to plot this, it's gonna have a data marker for that value of 0. I don't want to plot when it's 0. I just want to see, tell me when he had 1 single per game, or 2, or 3, whatever, and plot that. I'll show you later on what would happen if we didn't do this. So first thing, so we're going to find the indices when we had 0 singles per game and 0 doubles, 0 triples, 0 home runs, all of them. And 0 SPG, DPG, TPG, HPG. Let's go down here. Okay, so player underscore 1 underscore EPG. And then we're going to do, actually, this is what I call it player 1 and then 0 singles per game indices. We want to find those indices when this player had 0 singles per game. So find player underscore 1 underscore EPG. We want to look at this table. Then we're going to do dot SPG, so we look at this column. And we're going to find when that was equal to 0. And then I'm going to do this for doubles, triples, and home runs. So we're going to change this from singles per game to doubles per game. Change this from singles per game to triples per game. And change this from singles per game to home runs per game. Now we can run that, and that ran. So we have all the indices. And now we're going to make all of those indices when we have a 0 single per game, 0 double per game, etc. We're going to make them not a number. Once we make it not a number, MATLAB isn't going to plot that. So make indices of 0, SPG, TPG, TPG, HPZ, HPG, not a number, so it's not plotted. Alright, so player underscore 1 underscore EPG. You want to look at our table over here. And then I'm going to look at the column, each individual column. So .SPG, singles per game. And then I'm going to use array addressing for those indices that I just found for when we had 0 singles per game. Underscore 0. Right? Okay, yep. Okay, and then underscore indices, and then we're going to set this equal to not a number. Let's make sure this runs okay. And then you see all of those just changed right now to not a number. Do a little copy and paste action. And then we're going to do doubles per game, triples per game, home runs per game, doubles, triples, home runs. Run it, and boom, there we go. They all changed. Great. Alright, and now we're finally on to plot. So let's plot this bad boy. Okay, so that's the rest of the code that we have. So in this plot, I'm only, I'm plotting singles per game in all of them, actually. So I'll do plot, there we go. So I'm going to do a scatter plot. And then player underscore 1 underscore EPG. Now we're going to reference our game dates here. So dot game date. Then we're going to do comma player underscore 01 EPG. The first thing we're going to do is singles per game. And my data marker is going to be this little caret. And I'm going to make it red. And I'm going to fill it in. It's actually not a caret, it's a triangle. Let's plot this right now. Okay, and there we go. So by default, these limits kind of suck. I'm going to change them. So we have ylim from 0 to 3. Let's make our plot go down there. There we go. Now this is a better way to look at it. So now our y limit is adjusted good. It's adjusted well. Okay, so now let's actually change the X, no, not yet. Okay, what I'm going to do, hold on, and I'm going to plot the other stuff as well. So, here we go. So I'm going to change this to be doubles per game, triples per game, and home runs per game. Is that it? That's all I got to change, right? Yep, and then I'm going to change all the data markers that we have. If I was going to plot it right now, I don't know what's what. So we're going to make this one a circle, or dot really, because we're going to fill it in. We're going to make it blue. This we're going to make a plus sign, that's green. And here I can't fill in the plus sign because it's filled in by default. So we're going to delete that. And then the last one, home runs per game, we're going to make a star that's magenta. And it's already filled in. If I plot this, let's also, technically we should put in hold off. This is our plot now, which is what you saw in the beginning. Okay. So let's change our X tick values, because right now it's not showing on a per game basis. I want to show it on a per game basis. So let's do X ticks player underscore 1 underscore EPG and then dot game date. So it's going to reference this column right here and have a tick for each game. There we go. Right now, because the way my aspect ratio is, it doesn't look great, I know. Okay, so we're gonna do X tick angle. This will make it a bit better. It might still look bad right now just because of the way it's formatted, but we'll get to that in a bit. Okay, so let's spell it correctly though. There we go. And then I'm going to see my xlim. Oh yeah, see my xlim actually isn't great because there's a data point right there. So I want to make sure that I can actually see that well. So I'm going to change our x limits as well. So xlim, I'm going to do minimum of player _1 _epg.gameDate. Then I'm going to subtract it by 1. That's going to subtract this by 1 day. And then we're going to do for our maximum x limit, max of player _1 _epg.gameDate. And then plus 1, because again, we want to get that last value. Well, the last day and then plus 1 day. I forgot my parentheses. And now that looks better. Okay, almost done. We got to put in a legend here. So we're going to do legend. And again, I'm not going to actually specify any names or any text. I'm not going to write it out. I'm going to have this pulled from our variable names here. So player _1 _epg dot variable names, and then columns 1 to 4 to get these. Maybe I should rename them, but I don't really feel like it. Alright, why didn't that show up? Oh, I forgot that properties. And now our label shows up. So we see a triangle is a single per game. Actually, this should say just singles. Actually, no, singles per game. And then a circle is a double per game. Plus is a triple per game. So here we had 1 triple per game. And a star, a pink star, is a home run per game. So he never had 2 home runs in a game. That would be pretty impressive for the postseason. Now we need to actually specify the player name, because we want to put that in the title. So we can do that. So we're going to do player _1 _name equals post.player _name. Okay, yeah, so we could do it this way. I don't know why I did it this way. I could do it in a better way, a more logical way. So we're going to do post _r _hits. We're going to access this and then do dot player name, because this is how we sorted all of our data in the beginning, and then access that very first value, and we know that's going to be Randy Rosarena. So we're going to do that. Now if I type this in here, then we see his name pops up. So that works. Now we just got to put him in the title. So I'm going to do title. So here I actually formatted this correctly to have it on 2 lines. So we got to put in a bracket. Hits per game in 2020 MLB post season 4. And now, not in any quotes, I'm going to put string player _1 _name. So this kind of command, without the apostrophes, this is going to put out a string, so it's text for this variable name, player _1 _name, which we just created right here. It's going to output this value right here as text. Now if I run it, boom, there we go. I never typed out anyone's name in this entire video, and yet we accessed a lot of names and like hit types like a single and home run without ever needing to type it out in our legend. Okay, so that's it. So hopefully a lot of the kind of techniques I used in this video you can apply to your project, and you can automate these things without needing to manually change them each time the spreadsheet is updated. Alright, there you go. This is a lot longer than I was anticipating, so with that, I'll see you guys, well, tomorrow. Alright, see you guys.